Welcome in a great area called the Westeinderplassen. We actually found a great place sheltered from the wind. There's a bit of wind at this beautiful day, but here we are at the Westeinder Lake with this Axopar 22 Spyder. And the main reason that we took this out is that this boat actually has the U-sofa. We've made another review with the multi-storage out here in the cockpit, but this time we brought this with the U-sofa. I'll come back to that later, but as usual I'd like to start at the bow. I'm taking you all the way through the boat, showing you all the details. People looking at details may notice that actually the navigation lights are missing on this boat. Everybody knows that in these times there are some supply chain issues. We actually just received this boat but without the navigation lights, which will be mounted later. But here we are in the bow area, which is actually quite big. I love this area being relatively big with the non-skid on and without anything blocking you from getting off or on the boat. So really good place to get on the boat if you're docking bow first. And of course there's an anchor locker here, which is actually quite big. So plenty of place to store an anchor, mooring lines and even fenders like we did this morning. And of course the nice Axopar cleats here with the Axopar logo engraved. These latches, hinges, all made out of stainless steel of a 316 quality. I also like the detailing on this upholstery. Some people may not notice, but there's a bit more stitching, and that is not only done for aesthetics, but it's also done so that it just lasts longer, because this of course is a place where you tend to lean on, lean against and do kinds of stuff, and in 10, I don't know, 15 years time or so with other boats you usually see that these stitches would be torn, but if you add stitches that won't happen that easily. Again, this nice detail with the Axopar logo engraved. So this is the bow area, and this is an additional seat, which is actually an option. I like the way that Axopar incorporated these cup holders, also made out of stainless steel. So sitting here with a group of people, of course it's not big, it's only a 22 footer, but still it's comfortable. The seat length is good, even for tall people like myself. With a nice backrest, even though it's not very high, but still this is quite a nice place to sit down for some time. You may notice that here there's another small bench here. It is relatively small, but I could sit here for some time. Personally, I'd like a cushion here, because this for me is not really ideal, but still I think you could simply add something here. But you could sit here with 2, maybe 3 people and also have a table. You may see this table base here. By using the table, which is now in the back, you could also sit here in the bow, which may be nice if you're, for example, anchoring in really hot conditions and you'd like to have some of the wind from the water cooling you down. So again, a really nice place. And that is something that, as a general thing, I like on this Axopar 22 Spyder. It is just a 22 footer, but it's packed with nice details, nice features, and still it's affordable. It's a boat that is really thought through. Just having this bow area, having this on a 22 footer is not very common. Having a table here and also having a huge cockpit in the back, which I'll come back to later. Sitting here, you will see that there's also speakers. This is because this has the full stereo options. And I also like this grab rail here, powder coated in black. This is not only convenient to grab onto if you need some support while driving, but it's also nice if you, especially going further back, if you want a place to attach the fenders to. So really convenient. Not only that, it's right at the right place. The freeboard being relatively high makes you feel protected from falling overboard, especially useful when you drive a boat like this with small children. So really well done. There's a step-on, not on this side, but on this side. So if you'd like to get on or off the boat from this side, that can be done really easily. And you may notice these small things here. This is actually used for the bimini, which is also available as an option, which we actually left in the company for this video, not being in the way. But it is quite a nice bimini protecting you from the sun, which is available again as an option. And below here is one of the other nice things, which is really good to have on a 22-footer. Again, a boat that is packed with nice features like this toilet area. It is not big, but as I'm used to, I'll show you how big it is. I'm 1.92 meters, and I can even fit in here. I mean, it's fine. Of course, it's not small, but it's mainly for emergency cases. There's a place to wash your hands. Here's where the fuses are. There's a small light in here. So, yeah, again, well done, Axopar. Let me close it down. Again, this is an option. I would recommend it. I think it's really useful. You can take the cushions off, or also, by the way, if you drive the boat in winter time or something, you want to store this. There's a huge storage locker underneath my feet here. Plenty of space again to store water toys, fenders, whatever. And going back, one thing I'd like to show you is this. This can actually be tilted up. If you're as tall as myself and you like to be driving standing up, you may want to push this forward a bit so that you're sheltered more from the wind. So this actually is quite high in this position so that you're protected from the wind. Talking about protection from the wind, you see these sides here. This is also done to protect yourself from the wind. I must say, being honest, I'm quite tall, and this sometimes I hurt my knee with this. So for taller people, you have to be slightly careful not hitting this with your knees, but you'll get used to that easily. And the advantage, of course, is that you have more shelter, especially when you use a canopy, which I haven't really seen yet, only on images. But with the canopy on, you have less things rattling if it's attached to the center console going back, so even more shelter from the wind. Again, a nice grab rail to hang on to, and of course a nice dashboard, which is, in my opinion, really nice and clean, not cluttered. I mean, there's a few switches, there's a nice navigation screen. Of course, this is an option. There's different options to have as a navigation here. This is actually the Simrad, I think the 9-inch version. I really love these screens. They're nice, useful, practical. They can show all the info you'd want to see. Of course, the steering wheel, the remote controls. This with the 200 horsepower option being the DTS version, so digital throttle and shift, which we'll come back to when we take her out for a spin. There's a watertight USB socket here. There's a simple remote for the fusion stereo. Of course, the ignition. So a nice, packed yet clean dashboard. Look at this nice footrest here. Also a really small detail, but very practical. But I'll come back to the steering position later. There's two more speakers right here in the center. There's two more aft. Again, this boat has the full audio options. And as you noticed, I already turned these seats because this is, I personally think, one of the nice features of this Axopar 22 Spyder. Imagine being out on the water on a beautiful day such as today, sitting here with your parents-in-law or with a good group of friends. There's plenty of space. this really is nice. Being out on an anchor, you could actually sit here and lounge with your feet up, having a small lunch or nice drinks on the table here. Everybody has backrests. There's cup holders here. So again, this is really well set up. It's just a nice place to sit, even here. I mean, it's comfortable. This is slightly higher. Actually, this is the thing you get as a standard. This here, the U sofa, is an option. And with the U sofa, you can also get a filler piece which goes in here so that you have a huge sun lounge in the back, which also is really convenient. This filler piece can be stored below my feet in the storage locker here, which actually is huge. So if you open that, it's easy to take bigger cushions or maybe a wakeboard or other stuff in and out. So Axopar has given that plenty of thought, making it very practical like we're used to with Axopar. I mean, they only exist, I don't know, I think 8 years now. But you know that the people who are behind the Axopar brand are really experienced. It's all these details that make it a really practical and packed with features boat. There's covers, of course, for all these areas. There's one cover which goes over the center console and over these seats. There's other covers for this, but you could also choose to take the cushions off and put them in the area below the center console there, which I find practical. These middle cleats, by the way, are an option. I would add them, the disadvantage being that you're more or less blocking this step, so it's always a compromise somewhere. This is a place where you fill up the fuel with fuel. And of course, here on the back you have the optional ski tower, which I always recommend. I mean, this maybe is a good example, being the dock being relatively low. You may want to get on and off the boat from here. And you can see that this is more or less on the same level, so you wouldn't easily step like that, but go on here. And then it's just easy to have something to grab onto. So already for that reason, I would always recommend this ski tower. And of course, it's very useful if you have kids, if you want to do some water skiing or wakeboarding, I would add this. This is place for the top light. This is the filler cap for the water with the optional shower to rinse yourself off if you've been swimming in salt water, maybe in slightly dirty water. That is very practical. Again, this has the 200 horsepower Mercury outboard engine. I love these engines. Some people may know that I own an Axopar 28 with the twin setup of these engines. Still love these engines. They're perfect, but I would certainly also recommend considering either the smaller 150 horsepower engine option or the 115, which is the base engine option. I think already with the 115, I've driven it in Finland some time ago when this Axopar 22 Spyder was first introduced. That already had quite good performance, but I love this 200. A flagpole, and I did mention that there's a place to attach the bimini. So that having said, I think it's about time that we take her out for a spin. Before we actually take her out for a spin, I just remembered that I need to tell something about the special way of building this Axopar 22 Spyder. I seem to remember that in another video, actually I'm sure in another video in the Axopar 25, which we did in Cannes, I was walking next to the boat and I explained in detail how Axopar managed to achieve building a hull without having a rub rail, and a very clean hull which is actually sculpted in some places. And that has been done by using a special, what Axopar sometimes calls a 3D mold. And the main aim for that being that actually Axopar wanted to build a boat in this 22-foot segment which could fit into a container to reduce the transport cost, but still using the maximum beam. And normally on other sport boats, with the beam you do need, of course, to incorporate the rub rail, which is a necessary item if you build boats in the usual way by building both the hull and the deck separately, attaching them to another, and with the flange that is used to attach the two, you put a rub rail over it. That is not done with this boat, so you can actually utilize the maximum beam so that it has quite a nice beam but still fit in a container. And when you'd actually want to have a rub rail, you can of course still add it afterwards. So that is something that is truly nice on this Axopar 22 Spyder. The other thing being the weight of this boat. It is a 22 footer, again packed with features, but the weight of this boat is 1,200 kilograms, dry, without an engine. So if you add the engine, options, some fuel, etc., etc., we tend to use a 2,500 kilograms trailer, which may be a bit over what you would actually need, but still we would recommend that, having a really good 2-axle trailer. And still there's plenty of cars which can actually tow 2,500 kilograms. So that, coming to think of it, I'm planning to have my holiday at the Lago di Garda in Italy, and this would be just the perfect boat to bring for a holiday. So it's easily trailerable. And we're not the only ones being so thrilled about this Axopar 22 Spyder, because again, it's only a 22 footer and you have a head and you have this nice used sofa and it's really sporty and fun. So there are others who have actually noticed that it is just a great boat. And with that, I'd like to mention also that it actually won 3 awards. The Best Boat Award, European Powerboat Award, and the Motorboat Award, both in 2021 and 2022. So a triple award winner. And actually I do think that that is an industry first, certainly worth mentioning. That being said, we're out on the lake. Let me take this screen to the engine data screen. We're doing 1,300 RPM, so going slow, around 10 kilometers an hour. As you may notice, I have the seat tilted up, so I'm in the upper position. This I usually use when being in the marina, mooring, anchoring, etc., because you can get in and out of this seat easily. There's plenty of space to move around. But if you do some fast driving, so like we'll be doing in just a moment, I tend to put it down, put my seat back a bit. So again, the ergonomics with Axopar are always perfect. And this actually is really a not only nice place to sit, because still the view is great. I can see through this screen, but you feel sheltered, you feel protected. I don't feel like I fall overboard easily. Steering position being exactly in the perfect position. The controls for the engine right here, with which you can lean your hand on. This, for experienced boaters, is useful if you're out in rough conditions. You want to have the mouse of your hand like this, so you can adjust the throttles with just your thumb. The angled footrest right here. So again, perfect ergonomics. Taking the speed up, let me just take her up to plane. I'm always a bit gentle because of the camera. Doing already 25 kilometers an hour, 35, 40 kilometers an hour. Let me take the speed down just a bit. Around 40 kilometers an hour, and this feels very reliable. I can actually let go of the wheel. You hardly, well, you do hear the engine, but it's really comfortable. You can actually cruise really long distances in this way, and having a really good fuel consumption. That always is one of the key features of any Axopar. They're perfectly efficient hulls. We're doing now close to 2 kilometers per liter, which is really, really good. And if I go faster, that figure may be a bit different, but still, all the hulls of all Axopar boats, it's 185, so still really good, doing around 50 kilometers an hour. And still we're being very comfortable. Yet it feels sporty. Let me take some turns. You may see that I can use just one hand. That is because this boat also has the optional electrically powered steering, which I would recommend, especially if you use a bigger outboard. But it's fun. I mean, it's so nice to take these tight turns. Just corners like a dream. Yet we're doing again around 40 kilometers an hour. If we push the throttle, it still jumps away. We're already at close to 70 kilometers an hour, 75, 78, 80 kilometers an hour. I have to stop here. But she is terribly fast, and it's fun, it's sporty. 22 feet of fun, really. And imagine taking this on a trailer to all the nice locations you want. I really love this Axopar 22 Spyder. So, I think I covered everything. If you think otherwise, and if I forgot something, please let us know in the comment section below this video. In general, by the way, we always like people interacting with us. We always want to know which boats you'd want us to review, or which parts you would want us to highlight. You may remember that some time ago we took out a glass of wine, put it on the outboard of an Axopar 28 and tried how fast we could drive it. If you have similar challenges which you'd want us to do, please let us know. But for now, thank you for watching. Have a great day on the water. See you next time.